As we heard last night in the evening lesson with our great instructors, we heard that all the disruptions are coming from the Creator, and when we are uniting and are able to relate all these disruptions to the Creator and obviously put the goal in front of our eyes, then these obstacles become like a deficiency that we can unite around and build the prayer that the Creator wants to hear from us. And by that we bring Him contentment. So friends, let's start this morning lesson, this great opportunity to strengthen each other towards that prayer, because that's the only way we can win over the war, because the prayer is our weapon. So now, my dear friend Sean will read an amazing excerpt for us. Let's listen together. Thank you, Nadav. Beautiful exit number 1. Emhev Nefesh. Our sages said, man's inclination overcomes him every day. Were it not for the help of the Creator, he would not overcome it. Rather, man must only commit to strengthening himself each time anew and not retreat from this war or cause oneself despair under any circumstances. Certainly in this war it is impossible to evidently see who is the winner. Since the war is still long, the exile is intensifying, and each one experiences what he experiences. Yet, as long as we are holding our weapons in our hands, and our main weapon is the prayer, and as long as we do not cause ourselves to spare from this war and keep gripping to our weapons, we are winning for sure. Since as long as one strengthens oneself in prayer and outcry to the Creator, he is winning the war, and this is essentially the victory. Thank you. Active workshop question. How can we use our prayer to win the war? Again, active workshop question. How can we use our prayer to win the war? Canalists tell us that this is the most powerful force in reality. That basically this is our whole essence. To come to the right prayer, we should just do it and give each other strength to persist with it. What a vessel we have for the well, what a tool we have for the war if it's not a prayer. Prayer for each other first, that we'll be in this mutual effort. You should just pray all day, pray all the time, and ask for the connection with Him. Ask through the friends, to the group, to the 10, to reach Him. All the things that don't seem to us as organized, He set them up. There's none else besides Him. And we accept it with joy and love, and we want to serve Him. We want it to incorporate to another, ourselves. We need a strong and constant connection to the source, and then the reforming light works, and at the end, changes our intention to become a correct one. Doing that requires stubbornness in the and work, because in the end, winning the war is the fact that every moment we return to the prayer, and the minute you are in the prayer all the time, the war has been won. It is not for you to finish the work. The Creator will organize these things. If you manage to clothe your effort with the support of the friends towards the Creator, if you manage to do it every moment, that's it. That's the victory. The trick is to help each other and to succeed in conquering each moment of the day. Yes, we need, through opening the heart, to reach the upper force. That's our communication with it, that we will ask it with all of our deficiency, to ask from it to go above reason, that we'll be able to be partners with it, and to be the vessel so that it can give the good and pleasure to all of humanity, to the whole of nature. It's only according to the request, according to the deficiency, and that's in our hands. And that request is to open our hearts, because the hearts is the connection. The more we come to a state of prayer, through all the kinds of work, it's as if we are winning another battle. So we need to be as much being in a state of prayer as much as possible. Is our work in correcting creation. It's our task until we eventually win the war, when we are in complete prayer. Dear friends of Bennett Baru, now for the silent workshop. Let's enter our prayer towards the lesson. Again, let's enter our prayer towards the lesson. Dear friends, in the first part of a lesson, we will learn from an article, from a lesson from October 8, 2021, Shamarti. Number 15. What is other gods in the workings? We're in the Shamarti articles. Article number 15. What is other gods in the work? You can find the study materials in our site as well as in the ARV system. You can ask questions to our sites. Pertinent questions to the study material will be aired during the lesson. Please. This is also a special article really. Like all of the Shamari articles. It explains to us how much we can measure ourselves to somehow denote to ourselves what is the state that we're in our work. And by what can we weigh how much we're making efforts, how much we're advancing and how much we're not. Because the Creator, there's a reason why. He says, I've created the evil inclination. The intention is not that we will remain in the evil inclination, but rather that, through the evil inclination that resists our work, that we will get a feeling and an understanding of where we are with respect to Him in order to reach Him, to identify with Him, to reach His place, His degree. And therefore, how do we weigh it? How do we measure it? How do we measure our advancement each time? Are we advancing more or is there a regression? So, this article explains that to us. So, please, we will talk about it later on. The writings of Balasim. The article of Shamarti 15. What is other gods in the work? It is written, you shall make no other God over me. That is, on the one hand, there is a possibility to do that there is something that is opposite the Creator, and opposite the Creator it's only the evil inclination, our ego, that is hindering us in all of the different cases. So you shall make no other gods over me means that there is the Creator, the quality of bestow and love coming out of above one's ego, the person's ego, and there is the opposite state. There are no more than two states. Either you belong to the Creator, or you belong to the opposite thing, to our will to receive. Yes, the Holy Zohar interprets that there should be stones to weigh with heaven. Stone comes from Havana, understanding. So how with understanding? With attainment, with a feeling. At first we feel, and later on we can give our feeling all kinds of degrees. So how can we weigh it? Yes, he asked about this. How is the work weighed with stones? By which one knows one's state in the ways of the Creator? He replied that it is known that when one begins to work, more than one is used. 2. The body begins to kick and object to his work with all its might. Since regarding bestow, it is a load and the burden for the body. It cannot tolerate this work, and the resistance of the body appears in a person in the form of foreign thoughts. It comes and asks the questions of who and what. Through these questions, a person says that all these questions are certainly sent to him by the other side to obstruct him in the work. That is, a person thinks that indeed he has two forces before him, and if one force with one force, if he wants to somehow to advance, to reach Dishma for her sake, to reach in order to bestow, to reach connection with others, well, he doesn't quite want that, but he sees that he has to do it, because by this he will advance toward the purpose of creation. However, for him to have another force that obstructs him from advancing in this way, that he wasn't thinking, and so when he discovers that there is a force that truly stops him, blocks him, pulls him backward, then what happens? Says that if at that time one says that they come from the one breaches what is written, you shall make no other gods over me. That is, that we must not say that the forces that are obstructing us from reaching Lishma in order to bestow connection, something spiritual, that these forces come not from the side of the Creator, but rather these forces come from the side of the Creator, and they come in order to obstruct us. However, this is called helpmade against him. This is what Kabbalists call our will to receive the evil inclination, that even though it appears to us as opposite, however, it actually gives us discernments and degrees and understanding how to advance correctly. That is, even though it is opposite, however, it is also help. And this is something that we have to understand. Yes, the reason is that one should believe that it comes to him from the, since there's none else besides him. However, this shows one his true state, how he is working in the ways of the Creator. This means that by sending him these questions, which are called foreign thoughts, meaning that through these foreign thoughts, she sees how he answers the questions regarded as foreign thoughts. In all of this, one should know one's true state in the work so as to know what to do. That is, these things come to the person, specifically in order to aim him more correctly in a way that's he's more directly toward the purpose of creation. Even though it seems to the person as though it is hindering him, it stops him, it confuses him, he grows weaker, and he doesn't see in that the help from above, but rather it's actually an obstruction. It is like an allegory about a friend who wanted to know how much his friend loved him. Certainly, when face to face his friend hides himself because of shame. Therefore, he sends a person to speak badly about his friend. Then he sees his friend's reaction while he is away from his friend. And then one can know the true measure of his friend's love. The lesson is that when the shows her face to a person, meaning when the Creator gives one vitality and joy, in that state, one is ashamed to say what he thinks about the work of bestow, without receiving anything for himself. However, when not facing her, meaning when the vitality and gladness cool down, which is considered not facing her, then one can see his true state regarding the aim to bestow. And if one believes that it is written that there's none else besides him, but that the Creator sends all the foreign thoughts, meaning that he is the operator, he certainly knows what to do and how to answer all the questions. It seems as though she sends him messengers to see how he slanders it, his kingdom of heaven. And this is how we can interpret the above manna, above matter. One can understand this, that everything comes from the Creator, for it is known that the beatings that the body beats a person with its foreign thoughts, since they do not come to a person when he does not engage in the work. But these beatings that come to a person in a complete sensation, to the point that these thoughts smash his mind, they come specifically after proceeding to ra and work more than usual. This is called stones to weigh with. It means that these stones fall in one's mind when one wants to understand these questions. Afterward, one comes to weigh the purpose of one's work, if it is truly worthwhile to work in order to bestow, and to work with all his might and soul, and that all his aspirations will be only to hope that what there is to acquire in this world is only in the purpose of his work to bring contentment to his Maker and not in any corporal matter. This is how he should weigh it. What he feels, what he receives, what he sent, each time in his mind and in his heart, new emotions and thoughts. Yes, at that time begins a bitter argument, since one sees that there are arguments both ways. It's as if one time he's pulled ahead, another time he's pushed back. The writings warn about this. You shall make no other gods over me. That as if there is another force other than the Creator who is doing the opposite work. Not say that another God gave you the stones with which to weigh your work, but over me. Instead, one should know that this is considered over me. This is so that one will see the true form of the basis and the foundation upon which the structure of the work is built. Yes, that only in that he sees how much he is within him for and against forces and thoughts that are for the advancement against the advancement, and how does he arrange himself in being between the two of them. Then he can see his true state, and he can measure how much he is drawn to in order to bestow to the purpose of creation. The main heaviness in the work is primarily because they are two texts that deny one another. On one hand, one should try that all his work will be to achieve with the Creator, that all his desire will be only to bestow contentment upon his Maker, and not at all for himself. That's on the one hand he has to see that actually this is how he should be directed to that extent towards adhesion, according to the equivalence of his relations with the Creator. And 2. On the other hand, we see that this is not the primary goal, since the purpose of creation was not for the creatures to bestow upon the Creator, since he has no need for the creatures to give him something. On the contrary, the purpose of creation was due to his desire to do good to his creations, meaning for the creatures to receive delight and pleasure from him. These two matters contradict one another from one end to the other, for on one hand one should bestow and on the other hand one should receive. In other words, there is the matter of correction of creation, one which is being to achieve, attention discerned as equivalence of form, meaning that all his actions will be only to bestow, and 2. Afterward it is possible to achieve the purpose of creation, which is to receive delight and pleasure from the Creator. Hence, when one is accustomed to oneself to walk in ways of bestow, one has no vessels of reception anyhow, and when one walks in ways of reception, he has no vessels of reception of bestow. Thus through the stones to weigh with, one acquires both since after the negotiation he had during the work, and when he overcomes and takes upon himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven in the form of bestow in mind and heart, it causes him that when he comes to withdraw the upper abundance, since he already has a solid basis, that everything should be in the form of bestow. Even when one receives some illumination, he receives it in order to bestow already. This is because the whole basis of his work is built solely on bestow. This is considered that he receives in order to bestow. Yes. Well, this article isn't simple. There's a lot of material here. Let us try to scrutinize it a little bit, as much as we can. So, let's see the general questions we have. Usually throughout the day I am and with thoughts that distance me from the Creator and the friends. It seems to me like these are foreign thoughts, but it's written here that those foreign thoughts that pressure a person come to a person only in a state in which he's working the Creator's work. So what's the difference between those foreign thoughts that he's talking about here and those things that I considered as foreign thoughts? A foreign thought is considered foreign because it wants to pull the person into the line that he's following in his life. If now I'm thinking about business, and suddenly I get thoughts about having some fun time, then the thoughts about the fun time are foreign thoughts with respect to the business. That is clear, and it's the same here. If I'm doing spiritual work, as much as I'm doing spiritual work, and I feel that thoughts come to me that do not support the spiritual path, the spiritual advancement, then I accept them as foreign thoughts. However, here it talks not about the fact that foreign thoughts come. Of course, they come, but rather what do they come for? How can we use them in order to transform these foreign thoughts, specifically to ones that are correct and good for advancement? Because the Creator doesn't create anything redundant in the whole of creation, but rather everything depends on how we use it. If you permit one more question, I also wrote in the end, he writes that the danger is the abundance that we receive from the Creator. What's that? Summary. The risk of doing anything that we can do and receive for ourselves. Our whole development is in order to reach complete adhesion with the Creator. The complete adhesion is not that we disappear inside of the Creator, but rather that we, in receiving in order to bestow everything that He bestows, we are capable of receiving it in order to bestow back to Him that we receive only in order to bestow to Him. And by that, we identify with Him in our intention, in our inclination, in our thought that, as much as He wants to bestow to us, so we want to bestow to Him. This is actually the summary of our work. To that extent, what do? We reach a state where we exist in it like that Creator. His whole pleasure is from bestowing to us, and all of our pleasure is from bestowing to Him. And then we exist in the same state as Him, which is the greatest state, the most important, the most sublime. Does it mean that all the contradicting thoughts, all the matters that come to us in the work are the actual foundation for the work? And what does it also mean that there's a situation which when he receives and a state where he gives? What are those states and a person in the work? Don't mix two questions together. If you have two questions, then ask just one question. So again, repeat one question. Why are the thoughts and forces that are contradicted to the work that are revealed in a person, why are they the basis to the work? Because through them, when we have one thought and opposite it, we have the same thought, but in the opposite manner. One kind of work and opposite it. Something that hinders it, then we can weigh how much we're advancing, because we cannot measure anything unless if we have something that is opposite it. The created beings exist in a state where they have to always incorporate two opposite forces, and they exist in between these two opposite forces. This is how they feel their life. This is how they feel their advancement. In which direction they can build a thought, a desire to establish themselves only at a time that they exist in between two forces, two opposite phenomena. Try to think about it. Try to see this in our life. If we didn't have any resistance, if we don't have resistance in something, we don't feel it a single phenomenon, a single force. We cannot feel it. We can feel it only when there is something opposite it. And as much as there is in between these two forces, relations of for and against, then we feel in between this and that. If I exist only in darkness or only in light, I cannot detect anything. But only when there is a contrast, differences between darkness and light, then I can distinguish between them, and out of that I can perceive a certain form. And this is how it is with all of our other senses, the corporeal ones and also the spiritual ones. This is nature. This is how we are built. Where does it stem from? It stems from our soul, that we have 5 senses in our soul. Root 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have sight, hearing, smelling, taste and touch. 5 also, and we live in them. We feel in them for and against, good and bad, black and white, bitter and sweet. This is how we exist in between them. If you will take away all of these differences so that we will not have such differences in us in each and every sense between the plus and the minus, let's say, then we lose our sensation and we cannot feel where we are. Do we even exist? This is clear. And the second question was, that's a question that there's a part in, a person that receives and a part that gives. Is that correct? No, we don't have a part that gives. We give. We can give with our hands, but the desire to give, we don't have that. The desire to give in general is only the creator, and the desire to receive only is the created being. However, the created being undergoes a correction so that above the will to receive he can compose an intention, so that he uses the will to receive for the benefit of others, for the benefit of the creator. And this is what we're talking about. All in all of our corrections are in thought. For what purpose am I receiving? And this is what I call to bestow. Okay. No. Holland. Well, Holland. Good morning, deaf. What is it that weighs these so-called stones? Well, in truth, what weighs the stones is the middle line. This is when we going to reach it soon. Following the text we will understand where it comes from. Wait, the time will come where the work and trying to be with the 10 will be easier, or the more we advance will be in a steeper ascent. It will be more difficult. However, we will be able to do it. Our will to receive will be greater, but we will be able to cope with it and to add to it the intention of in order to bestow. But certainly the advancement is advancement with a greater will to receive, and accordingly the intentions will be greater. Yes, in order to bestow, but we will have the forces for it. There most important thing is to feel what. Does it mean in order to bestow? What? Does it mean lishmer for her sake? What? Does it mean faith above reason? This is all really relating to a single quality, that the importance of bestow, for me, is greater than the importance of reception. Thank you, Rob. In the work, does a person have foreign thoughts, and is it necessary for him to have such thoughts, or to feel blame that we're in the middle of the lesson and such thoughts arise? Whatever a person receives physically and emotionally, with his thoughts and with his desires, in everything that one has, it all comes from a single root, and it is only in order to aim the person more correctly to the goal. That's it. There is nothing that is outside of that. With each and every person, eventually, everyone will see that always there is one upper force that was pressuring the person and arranging the person such that he will reach the goal. Only that. How can we invert these foreign thoughts so that we don't need to change or invert any thoughts or any desires, but rather only to strengthen whatever we have towards the one true goal, to be closer to the Creator, and closer means to be more similar to Him. That is all, and nothing besides that do we need to do, and it's impossible for us to do. Yes, dear Rav, here according to the text, he writes that we have 2 stages, where first is to come to adhesion, equivalence of form, and the second is to reach the purpose of creation, meaning to perceive the upper abundance. What are those? Well, if we reach in order to bestow, to that extent we can feel what pleasure we have in our connection, our relation with the Creator. So there is work in coming closer, and there is, as a result of that, there is work in enjoying, because to enjoy also, it's also in order to bestow. That is, I would say that in that we have, well, as we say, that first we have to acquire the quality of being to bestow, in order to bestow when we prepare our vessels, and later on we reach a state of receiving in order to bestow. So to bestow in order to bestow means that we elevate ourselves to the degree of being, and to receive in order to bestow means that we elevate ourselves to from the degree of being to the degree of receiving. On the degree of being we are filled with the light of, and on the degree of kettle we are filled with the light of. The first one is called back. The second is called light of infancy and adulthood or greatness. All in all, this is the way to reach the process of creation is divided into 2 parts. Soon we will go over the introduction, the preface to the study of the Tai once again. So there we will study these 2 parts along the way, on the way to the goal. With your permission, another question. Yes, and usually in one thought only, either for the Creator or against, in a dissent or in assent. And here it's written in the article that need to build one against the other, how to hold on to that one towards the other together. This means to be on the middle line, that I see this in my eyes, and I see that in my eyes, and I want to combine the 2 of them together. Yes, this is what we need to do. But usually I am either in one or the other. That's not enough. It's not good. Well, in the beginning, this is how it is. A person is thrown this way or that way, and it's not that he himself positions himself in some state, but rather this is how it is arranged for him from above. But our word, the more independent it will be, is that we will be in the middle, and that we will combine the 2 of them together, and we will talk about it. It's on the way. No. Well, what is one? A question from a friend. The thoughts and feelings that a person gets are sent by the Creator. Whereas the choice of a person, the choice of the person, is not in the thoughts that he sent, that the Creator sends him, but rather in how he relates to what the Creator sends him, for him to accept it with understanding, with love, with joy, that the Creator each and every moment is tending to him, and indeed each and everyone at any given moment can discover how much he is constantly receiving guidelines from the Creator. Truly, it can be that within 1 second Thousands of discernments will pass through him. We don't understand how much spirituality is working on such high frequencies, and the person will be capable of replying to each and everyone, and then he will see how much he is then rising above time. It will come. 3. Thank you. Can you say that? What the person gives us, we are building an attraction towards him. It's not quite like that, but for the time you can think of it like that. This is what it says that the left rejects and the right attracts bring closer. But it is the combination between the two of them that is very special. PT 24, stones to weigh. Understanding. When do we say we need to go above reason? When do we actually use our understanding? Right, even above reason. We go with understanding. This is why it's called above reason. It's not without reason. Only above reason that the reason helps me to go above the corporeal reason and, in that way, to build the spiritual reason. PT 23. First of all, thank you for the explanations and the new tastes we get from these important articles. The first question, the foreign thoughts, he writes, come specifically after the precedence of the work and truer above the ordinary. What is this work above the ordinary? Well, we are used to a certain level, where we study, we relate to what passes through us, and we reject to everything else that comes in a form of burdening when it feels heavy for us. So if a person, nevertheless, is willing to accept additions in scrutinies in the study in his connection with the friends upon all of the disturbances and all kinds of such things, if a person is ready to receive a dish, now we will switch to a lesson by on the purpose to the wisdom of Kabbalah from June 1st, 2006. 25. I think he said, as long as all 5 vessels have grown, inner lights are not in their designated places. Moreover, they are in inverse relation. In the absence of the vessel of Malad, the light of Yidder is absent. And when the 2 vessels too are absent, and are absent there, etc. This is so, because in the vessels the higher ones grow first, and in the light the last ones are the first to enter. But we need to understand that all of our use is only to mark a certain state, because it could not be a letter in its vessel. But eyes reveal vision, the light of vision, and ears reveal the light of hearing, and it cannot be otherwise. But we're speaking about the intensity that comes to a certain vessel, if we use it completely, and not in the quality of the light. We're certainly that same quality that comes to become revealed. It cannot come to reveal anything else. Say that the lights are not in their place. It doesn't mean that suddenly the light of hearing reveals in the eye and it doesn't go to the ear. But the matter is that the quantity of it, the amount, its ability and its depth does not become revealed, because the light of needs to have 4 corrections before it, and then it will reveal itself as the 5th light that enters the vessel. We cannot reveal a light with such an intensity before prior corrections, but each time that we reveal the lights, we reveal them in a complete nar. There cannot be a certain attainment without 10 full spur, could bring confusion. But we have no choice but to understand that we speak about internal concepts, and we're not just speaking about names. Where the light of Nefesh comes in the vessel of Keter, where the light of Nefesh reveals in the vessel of Malat, there cannot be such a thing that it becomes revealed in the vessel of Keter. The light that can become revealed in the vessel of Keter, and only the 5th light can become revealed, and therefore it is called Nefesh, which is called Nefesh of Ket. It cannot be something else. And when the light of Nefesh descends to so, then it becomes the light of Nefesh Inma, which is suited to the vessel of that it can reveal. And in Ket is revealed the light at a higher intensity of what of Ket. So we have Nefesh of and of. So to understand we should understand that they are not the same. Lights that descend from a higher degree to a lower degree, or on the contrary, that they rise and each time there ascends. So certainly each vessel reveals a light that is capable of revealing. But we say that the lights are not in their place because they still have not revealed in the vessels the lights that are really suited for them according to their intensity, according to the screens. Yes, if it talks about one, how come it has different intensities, different powers, and different spur? I don't know, but I once read that I reveals 98% of the information that we see, even though our cells, I once read, most of the cells in the mind are cells of smell, fields of cells of smell. That's what we have in our mind. How much do we use smell? And if I lack smell, it seems it's not so bad to me. There are people who don't even smell. So what? Meaning there's a difference between what is prepared on behalf of the vessel and what it reveals. That's on one hand. And on the other hand, we see that all these vessels from the beginning work at a different intensity, a different power. Children, everything they have they put in their mouths. They don't feel any different. The eye doesn't perceive. Smell doesn't tell them anything. Only taste. So we see different vessels work in different ways with us. And here, it's also the case. Above. Now why does the vessel of Keter reveal more than the vessel of Malhud? We say that in Keter there is Narai and in Malat we have the light of Nefs. So the vessel of Keter reveals 5 times more. Let's say these are numbers that you also can't compare, but 5 times more than the vessel of Mal. Yeah, just like the eye reveals 98% and the sense of smell reveals half a percentage. That's all. Why is that the case? Because the purer the vessel according to its nature, its original nature, according to the vessels and screens, it's closer to the light according to its nature. So then it can reveal the greater quality of the vessel. The more the vessel is coarser in its intensity and its power, so it can reveal more intensity of the light, a greater light. But where in the vessels that it's capable of revealing, of doing something with them, it says that the wise is greater than its mind. Then where is the fool? Where is it? Is it the opposite to the mind? That's what we say because we activate the coarseness. The force activates the vessel. So we have a difference between the closeness of the vessels to the light. Naturally, there's a natural closeness, how they grew, and there's a difference in the vessels, how to activate them, how the coarseness activates them, which is the desire. There are 5 vessels, are independent of the desire. They are in each and every one according to the degree of the desire they activate the vessels. I sometimes do not see. Why not? I'm not interested in seeing. I cannot see in the eye, and I cannot see because I have no interest in it. So I don't see. And one is connected to the other. Meaning a big desire activates all 5 senses in a great power, and a small desire does not really activate all of them until the desire disappears, and then it dies. And then where are the senses? You can take those eyes and implant them into someone else. Okay, it'll work. Because someone else has a desire moment, and someone who's dead, why do they die? Because their desire finishes. That's all. So the opposite value between lights and vessels is a very fundamental thing, and I'd say that it's not so simple. It's multi-layered and it works on many parts. Don't get confused. 10. They are all in each and every state. They work completely, and all of them. Okay, yes. We talk about a complete vessel in it. Describes that the Nefesh enters the vessel of what happens at that time with the vessel of Mal. I don't understand. There is a vessel. In the vessel there are 5 parts. The light enters the Kli and fills it. If the light did not fill yet the tip of the Yad V, if it did not fill it, so then there's no feeling that it's in the vessel. It filled this vessel, the smallest light, and that is called the light of Nefesh. You can say of Nefesh That's the first state. You have Son, and you have none on high. 5 vessels with 5 lights. Chesh. That is all called that the light of Nephesh in the vessel of Keter. Why? Because all in all the coarseness, the general coarseness of Shish of the root. Now the vessel activates the Aleph, the Al of coarseness, a completely new state. It enters, right? You can say, Buff, state 2. What's the difference between the two of them? The difference between the two of them is one is Nephesh in intensity and the second is in intensity. Why? Because of a different out of coarseness. So all in all we call that we have Ru in of the Ru in the vessel of Keter, and accordingly we can draw and more such parts of, and afterward we say, what's in all these parts of him where there's this part of that is called, and this is Biner, and this Isin, and this is Malot, and we can also draw them in this way, where the light of Nephesh enters, and afterward, and here is etc. You can draw all 5 of these states as one, in which all the lights enter. What all in all did I do? I took apart, as usual, and I said that the light of Nephesh enters and afterward Nephesh descends, and then the light of Ru enters, descends and the light of descends, descends and the light of descends, and afterward enters the light of what did I do? We learned that's how the lights enter the vessels. That's how we learned that that's all. So what did I do? I only said that the light of Nephesh enters the vessel of Keter. I drew that in a complete way. Afterward, the light of Ru enters the vessel of, and I drew that in a different way. That's all. And here I said that it is as if it's one element, but it cannot just be one element. It divides into 5 or 10. However, it depends how you count. And then I can need to draw it in a different way, meaning we take an element and we speak about it. Well, certainly you can go to compress it into a bigger structure, or on the contrary you can detail it into a smaller structure, but always if you take an element it's always the 10th spur of Nanhai. Otherwise you have no one to speak with. So does such a thing exist? The light of Nephesh in the vessel of Keter, it exists toward something else and toward itself, like a small child. He has no mind, no intellect. He does for his degree. He has everything. Legs, arms, the spirit of life. Everything he needs. But in relation to an adult, it's considered nothing. Is that clear? So we always speak in relation to the relationship between the parts of him and the parts of themselves. Certainly, as we remember that they have tens with 5 lights, right? And that's all, and that doesn't change. Otherwise, it's an element of creation. We have nothing to speak about there. It doesn't exist. You will also find that each like that comes on new dresses only in the vessel of Ketu. This is so because the receiver must receive in its most refined vessel, the vessel of Ketu. It cannot be otherwise because one feels oneself as a animal, a beast, it doesn't matter what. First in the closest vessel to what I go to feel. That's all. Let's say as an example, I feel waves, noise, sound, waves of sound in the ears. When I feel them, I also feel them, that my body is moving. I also feel that, right? But what the vessel that is closest to, that's suited for that first, reveals that phenomenon to me. For this reason, upon reception of each new light, the lights are already dressed in the pulse must ascend 1 degree from their place. For example, when the light of enters, the light of Nephesh must descend from the vessel of Ket to the vessel of to make room in the vessel of Keto to receive the new light. What does that come from? It comes from the 4 phases of direct light. It's the development of the vessels. What does it mean that the light of Ru comes to the vessel? Now, what vessel does it come to outside of the vessel? The light is in absolute rest, but the vessel develops within itself. From the sphere of Keter to the sphere of that it understands more, that it feels more in the light of it feels nothing. It's got the giver. Enma. It feels the giver of the pleasure. It reveals the light of life from its development. So then it starts tasting, and then it starts increasingly understanding. And Ru, what's that the giver gives it this flavour that it gives it this sweetness. Firstly, it didn't feel that it felt that there was someone. Now, it feels that that someone wants to give it flavour. That is called that it attains the vessel of in the light of in the vessel of Keter. And now the nature it reveals what it is toward me in a direct way. Right, that it gives me pleasure. Meaning the development is on behalf of the vessel where the lights come from. Above, there is no Naran high outside of the vessel. The vessel out of its own development reveals the Naran high. First the vessel developed coarseness, screens, and then it attains more meaning, which means that more lights came to it. Similarly, if the new light is then must descend from the vessel of Keter to the vessel of to vacate its place in Ketver. The new light, as a result, Nephesh which was in the vessel of HME must descend to the vessel of Biner, etc. All this is done to make room in the vessel of Keter for the new light. But in any case, why do we say that lights come to the vessels? It is because the light develop the vessels. Light develops the vessel. When it develops a vessel from within, the vessel starts revealing, feeling, perceiving it in more depth according to the correction and sensitivity of the vessel. So from that in which the light bestows or influences the vessel and causes its development. So that same abstract light, we say that the lights enter the vessels. However, the path that we learn from below upward, the about the soul that rise to ends there, we don't learn that the lights enter the vessels, but there we say that the vessels precede the lights, and here the lights precede the vessels in any case, because here the light is still developing the vessel until the vessel reaches the final descent. Total disconnection from the light. The light still acts in the vessel and builds discernments in the vessel until the most detailed of details, until they of the upper one that folds into this world. Until that point, the light works. The cause and consequence are not clear. Does the light vessel develop the vessel of Keter, and then the light of fish must go down to, or the light develops the vessel of Ketama? Like we learn about the four phases of direct light, and the vessel of is the development of the vessel of Keter that starts feeling that there is someone that gives it something it gives. Sweetness, etc. doesn't matter, or Biner reveals that and wants to already resemble it. So, the light develops the vessels, and the vessels reveal the light that is developing them. The light is abstract and singular. It has no characteristics. But the vessels in its relationship it goes who is developing me. What does it want? And accordingly, it gives it all kinds of names according to the development of the vessel, how much it reveals. So then it says that it reveals in it the light of Naran high, but the vessel reveals a certain phenomenon and gives that phenomenon names. And it's not that the light has names, but the names are connected and as a result of the correction and development of the vessels alone. We need to remember that very well, that rule that there is no light without the vessel, and light without a vessel meaning it's unattained. It's that his essence and the impression, the awakening, the shaking of the vessel. We call that the light, that there is a vessel, a desire, and that desire starts something, it awakens, there's something happens to it. So the outcome of that vibration of the desire we call that the light. Something happens to it. So then we can say that there is something or someone there that awakens in me, and according to the awakening that it gets enters into some vibrations, etc. So then it calls all kinds of names, phenomena, that are seemingly outside of it, and work on it in such and such ways. That is all inside the vessel, and that is called from your actions, we will know you, that outside of the actions we cannot determine anything, and according to the actions we call someone who seemingly awakens these actions that it's a seemingly, because it himself we never attain. Keep this rule in mind and you will always be able to discern in each issue. If it is referring to the vessels or to the lights, then ye will not be confused because there's always an inverse relation between them. Thus we have thoroughly clarified the matter of the 5 faces in the screen and how through them the levels change one below the other. Item 26, the 5 above. We have thoroughly clarified the issue of the screen that has been placed in the vessel of Ma'at phase 4 after having been restricted, and the issue of the 5 kinds of coupling by striking within it which produce 5 levels of tense, one below the other. Now we shall explain the 5 of that precede the 4 worlds. You already know that this reflected light which rises through the coupling by striking from below upward and dresses the tense sphere of the upper light suffices only for the roots of the vessels called the tense sphere of the Rosh of there. To complete the vessels, MHM of the Rosh expands from those tens of reflected light that clothe the tens of the Rosh, and expands from it and within it from above downward to the same extent as in the tens of the expansion completes the vessels called the goof of the pot, the body of the pot. Hence we should always distinguish 2 phases of tense in each. And first of all we need to understand and to agree with the method of study. What did we study until now? 4 phases of direct light, where afterward the vessel of Ma'at comes where it decides to become restricted and to make upon itself a screen and to receive only according to the extent in which it has a screen, and suddenly it tells us that we have 5 worlds, and the first world that is called Arkadam, it includes 5 parts of him, which come from the biggest part of 2, the smallest parts of. In that way it gives us facts, meaning the method of study is first of all to give information that this is how it is, and we need to receive, and when I receive that this is how it is, so I don't go with questions of why is it so such and so, but it's important to absorb that information. So he says simply, we have 5 parts of him. What are parts of him? 5 portions that we receive, meaning 5 parts of one portion. It says how this portion works. First we had, and the previous phases, previous, Gimel and Dalet. Root 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how I write draw. So then there was a decision to make a Tim a restriction and afterward a screen. And the restriction and screen is called that they accepted upon themselves a special attitude to the emanator, to that, to the light, where they said, wait, we think how much to receive from you and how much not to receive from you. So the light comes and there is no entry, just like that, and according to desire. But there's this other element here beforehand called rush, and beforehand there was no rush. Previously there were, but there weren't even, there was simply phases. Root 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's I feel phase 4 as a very principal and important phase, and the previous phase is not so much. They just give me this feeling of the qualities of the Creator, that's how he relates to me. So now there's a rush that was not there previously, and according to the rush and according to phase 4 I make a calculation to receive a certain part of the light, and in that phase 4 I don't receive it. I decided to make upon it a restriction. Why is phase 4? Phase 4 is with me now, that same part that is incapable of receiving in order to bestow. So I divide the parts into the conclusion into P into, and then when I speak about parts that receive or don't receive, I can with each and every part I can divide each and every part into 10 sphere, and then I have the 10 sphere of rho, and then the 10 sphere of tro, and then the t of, etc. And they say this, that after I completed this parts of gives birth to the lower parts of I already draw it according to how it dresses. He doesn't tell us that. He simply says that we have 5 parts of him, and this parts of gives birth to another one and another. One right and another one. Like this. 5 parts of him. Which are, there's this relationship between them, or their names. Now we're going to read item number 7 from Shamarty article number 19. By one should believe that the obstructions of the will to receive in the work come to him from above. One is given the force to discover the will to receive from above, because there is room for work precisely. When the will to receive awakens, then one has close contact with the Creator to help him turn the will to receive to work in order to bestow. We must believe that from this extends contentment to the Creator, from his praying to him, to draw him near in the manner of adhesion, called equivalence of form, discerned as the annulment of the will to receive. So it is in order to bestow. The Creator says about this, my sons defeated me. That is, I gave you the will to receive, and you ask me to give you a desire to bestow instead. Yes, this is the beginning of our work, that we begin to feel how opposite we are from the Creator, that to him, receiving the upper light, being in contact with the Emanator, is the only thing that is worthwhile, that he wants, and we were born with the will to receive for ourselves. And until we begin to feel the difference between our nature, the will to receive, and the nature of the Creator, the desire to bestow, it takes us a long time and a lot of strength requires, takes up a lot of energy from us. Therefore, it is worthwhile for us to be impressed by the Kabbalists, by people who have already been rewarded with feeling the operations of the Creator as they are in bestow, and in this way we will gradually approach a state that is opposite from our state, meaning, which is only a desire to bestow, so much so, that we will begin to feel in our will to receive. We will begin to perceive our will to receive as our enemy. All the thoughts and desires that we feel as coming against us are all from our own will to receive, and we need to feel them, distinguish them, and as much as possible move away from them. This is our work, and in our work we can advance to a state where the will to receive, in which we were born and exist, is against us. It is against us, and gradually, through the connection between us when we connect the vessels, when each of us wants to help the others, to his friends who are with him in the same ten, then each one wants to help the others, his friends, to rise more and more. Then it turns out that the work of bestow, which we did not know how to connect in, is intended in us, so that we, through helping our friends, can become similar to the Creator. In this way, a person begins the process of similarity with the Creator, until he ends this process and sees in it how much his correction which he receives from above is opposite from the state in which he was created. It is the opposite. He was in the will to receive in order to receive, and through the influence of the light on him, he comes to receive in order to bestow. He comes into reception in order to bestow. In other words, the intention changed here, the relation, his approach to what he does, and this is how he advances. And we need to understand that the will to receive, although it seems to be disrupting our work of bestow, it is help made against us. For a person who begins to overcome it, approaches it, and defeats it, this is basically what we need to depict to ourselves. Okay, let's see the questions. BT 35. Thanks, Rar. How in that the Creator helps me and lets me reveal the force of the will to receive. How does that cause me to identify with the Creator? The Creator who gives you a little more of the will to bestow each time, gives you a possibility to fill the gap between the will to bestow and the will to receive, meaning it already builds in you by this two systems, the system of reception and the system. In the system of reception you can feel your own nature, how opposite it is from the Creator. And, in the system of bestow, you try to become similar to Him as much as you can. And if another question may I? Yes, how if the Creator he writes here, that I need to believe that it comes from the Creator, right? So how does that change how I relate to the prayer when I know that it comes from the Creator? How should I change my attitude towards the prayer or my attitude in the prayer in terms of how I address the Creator if I believe that it all comes from Him? You have only the possibility to enlarge this desire and from the side of the Creator. Accordingly, He gives you the power to actualize this desire to receive in order to bestow. This is how for each and everyone. It depends greatly on the exertion, on you. The exertion that we try to show you. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. You mentioned earlier that we have to start to see that the ego as an enemy. So my question is, we know that the ego wants to exploit everything for itself. Will we ever be able to exploit the ego for the sake of Kajuka? Will we have that ability to do that? The will to receive is unrelated to Kadusha or the shell, but the intention how to use that same will to receive for the benefit of myself or for the benefit of the Creator and everyone. This is what can change. So if we begin to feel how much we are the opposite of the Creator to that same extent, we will want to change ourselves and reach a state where each and everyone will try to be similar to the Creator, who perform His actions so as to be as bestowing as possible. This is how we try to do it until we complete all of the correction. The entire will to receive will be in order to bestow. This is what the whole of humanity should reach, and this is how we will complete our labor. Yeah, Turkey. Dear love, how does a person transition from a prayer for the will to receive for himself to a prayer for the will to bestow? How does a person transform his prayer? It all depends on the person from the side of the Creator. He only has giving towards us, and that does not change. We can change our intention over the actions of reception or the actions of bestow. Therefore, it all depends on the person. PT 19. Good morning. Good morning, friends. It says that a person needs to believe that the Creator gets contentment from a person praying to Him, and he needs to feel that, believe that. How do I know that the Creator receives contentment? Gets contentment from me when I pray to Him. If I don't feel anything, yet how can I feel that He's being content or is content with me? Try to perform actions where you bestow to Him, and in these actions, you will feel your relation to the Creator and the Creator's relation to you. I need to see that things are going better in my life, or is it completely unrelated? You need to feel your whole life as better. How does it manifest that betterment? In a feeling, not physically in any way. No, first of all, in the feeling and physically. That's also possible, but you feel it in your life, right? You feel better. Yes, of course. Try and you'll see. All right. Thank you. The will to receive always wants fulfillment. Will we ever reach, or rather how can we reach, a point where the will to receive doesn't want any compensation? Nope. There are such desires to receive, that we don't need to fill them. Nevertheless, the way we relate to them will be as a giver. This is how we get closer. What answer can we give the ego when it asks for fulfillment? Is there any kind of trick? Then we turn to the Creator and we ask Him for forces for the force of bestow, and we want to always have the force of bestow. This is how we get closer to the truth, to the goal. When we reach more and more equivalent form with the Creator, He bestows, and we also reach bestow. That is all. Amma. Thank you, teacher. I love you. Italy. Loves you. A question from the friends. How to see the friend as a bestower, and when the friend becomes a bestower. Is it the Creator bestowing upon us and we start bestowing upon Him? Sorry, waiting for Hebrew translation. Says, but if the friends don't bestow, you don't have to change. But when I see the friend bestowing, it means that I'm bestowing and that the Creator receives bestowal from us. There's a certain moment of transition here. That's what I'm asking about. You bestow. In that, you see what the friend needs, what he requires, and you assist him in getting that. This is how it works. When we become bestowers, that specific moment, when malhood becomes ket, transition, there's very fine nuance to that. That's what we want to feel. It depends only on the intention. Only on the intention. Either you want to bestow through your action or you want to receive through your action. That's what you have in you. You want to feel it. In principle, you don't really have the possibility to bestow. You can bestow only if you have an intention to bestow. And this intention can work both with reception and also with bestow. That does not matter if it's one or the other. PT 24. Good morning. In the stages of preparation, when I'm supposed to care for the friends, what should I think about that the friend will have a lack, or that the friend will receive a feeling of fulfillment? Which one? No, you can't be concerned about his deficiency. There will be states where it will be possible, but we are talking about the fact that the friends have the deficiencies, and I want to help them fill them, and by that to give contentment to our Creator. That is all. Is it correct to say that the will to receive perceives the Creator's actions as good and bad, while the will to bestow sees them as only good? The will to receive is a desire that enjoys reception from the Creator. The will to bestow is a desire that enjoys bestow to the Creator. And all the rest is about receiving more or bestowing more. This is how it works for us. Latin 11. Latin America loves you very much. We think about you a lot. The question is how to improve our discernments so as to be more beneficial to the 10. The more you will perform the sections of connection between you. In connecting the 10, you will be able to bestow to the upper one, to the Creator, in a better way, in a way that is stronger, more beneficial. So, try to think only about the connection, and that the connection between you is what elevates you upwards. Can I ask another question? Yes. To focus us on our thoughts. Many times we have distracting thoughts, and we have a hard time focusing, and this doesn't let us find the good discernments. It prevents us from bestowing upon each other properly. We have many weaknesses in that sense. I did not understand the question. What to do with those distracting thoughts, those disruptions which weaken us? Fight against them. Fight against such thoughts that distancing me from the Creator, that pull me away from the path towards attention with Him. This is what we need to do. 4. What's considered a will to receive? One's personal yearning to adhere to the Creator, or one's yearning to help the friends adhere to the Creator. No receive. And all of the actions of restriction and bestowing back to the Creator, these are actions of correction. That's what we learn about. And so, what we need to do during the day is to connect between us, to discover to what extent each one can help the others in order to carry it out, and then to check ourselves to what kind of bestow towards the Creator we have reached. According to our nature, we can receive from the friends from the Creator. Here is all. There is no more to something or to someone. And so it is important for us. And so it is important for us to connect together in order to connect our desires to receive, also our desires to bestow, and see what do we reach if we connect to a great will to receive or to a great will to bestow. How from the connection between us when we connect the desires to receive or even the desires to bestow, how do we truly reach the intention in order to bestow? Connect between us in order to bestow to the Creator. So this is the only thing that we have standing before us, opposite us, as the correct action, because by that we identify with the Creator according to our awareness of the situation. that he bestows, and we also bestow. Receives, but we do not receive, we can only give. This is our work, but it follows that we either receive or we don't receive, and we want to bestow. There's no situation where we truly bestow. But the fact that we want to bestow, let's say, we connect between us in order to carry out this action of bestow. And by that, we elevate ourselves above the will to receive. And we field recording. PT 11. I heard now that there are lacks in the France which I need to try and satisfy, fulfill, and by that I bestow contentment upon the Creator. Yes, if I want to do that, where should I begin? That's right. You want. I want to fill the first lot for today. Where should I begin? By getting closer to them. And they, nearing. You want to open up their desire to receive. You want to embrace them. They pick me up at the airport. Okay. And by you being like them, in an act of bestow one to the other and the other to the first, you will be able to begin to fill them. Go nowhere else. From that you feel a great feeling, a great pleasure. By this you become similar to the Creator. But you're taking care of that. I have to bring them. I have to bring them first. Human nature is to receive that's nature, and suddenly he comes and asks for his nature to be replaced. So I wanted to ask a person. When he asks for something, usually he feels that he deserves it. So the question is what gives the person the right and the power to ask for a new desire to ask it from the Creator. We discover the Creator's desire to bestow to us. We discover that only his force operates in the whole of reality, and therefore we get closer to him, drawing closer according to how I equalize my desire with his desire. He entirely bestows and I entirely receive. So what I do want is, I want to be in order to bestow. He is either to bestow in order to bestow or to receive in order to bestow. Every person has the right to ask. Every person should try to get closer to the place or to people that he can be impressed by towards an act of bestow. It is right. Do you not purchase by some means? No, you can't acquire it, but only through labor. You labor in your 10 as much as you want to be together with everyone in order to carry out this action of bestow, then you will succeed. Okay, how to feel and hear the friend's lacks? Well, if we don't really talk to each other, it might come from the mind or from the heart. It does not matter. The most important is what you think of, what you dream about, what you decide about, and from the decision that you took, you want to implement it in practice. So it can be said that if I don't feel certain needs, then the friends also lack the same thing, and then I can pray to the Creator. Yes. No. You shouldn't measure the friends according to your criteria. It's not worthwhile. No. Latin 1. What is intention, and where is it in? Mind or heart? The intention is in the heart. All of our work is the work in the heart. The brain only prepares actions, requests, appeals to the Creator. All of the work is in the emotion, and this is in the heart. Woman's pain. The greatest weapon in a swarm against our ego is prayer. So how to raise our prayer so that the Creator says, my sons have defeated me. Together, you can perform all of the actions only by getting closer, embracing together in the 10. And from the 10, we raise the deficiency. Thank ye. By what means can we perform an examination in the tent to see what level of bestowal we've reached? To what kind of bestow we reach? We have to achieve such bestow that it will resemble the theatre. And this, of course, is a very high degree. But until we reach it in the 10, we will reach something that is 10 times or hundreds of times less than that degree. When or how does it happen that a person's disruptions become an aid against himself? This is already a very high degree, meaning that even our own nature, which is only the will to receive, We can invert it to be in order to be still, and in this way, to work what can be regarded a victory by the Creator, the feeling, the outcome. You should go for the small victories. What does that mean? That this time I actually succeeded in doing something in the morning, and then I succeeded in doing something at noon, like that one after the other, and accordingly, you will see you will have a feeling that you're drawing near or drawing far. You're doing something together with the friends and with the Creator, or not. Mark 11. How can we fulfill the friends' lacks? By helping them in your actions. That is all. Scrutinize what is it that they want, and try to be with them in that. Have 1. You said that we need to replace the nature of the receiver with the nature of the bestower. Does it mean that in a desire that is revealed, any desire to receive, we should set the connection with the friends and bestow towards them? I think so. And in that action where I connect the friend's desire to myself through bestow upon the friend, how can I make the Creator act? You are with your friend when you connect together into one whole, and then, when you turn to the Creator, you turn to Him as one person that turns to the Creator, and then the Creator can no longer refuse you. Okay, first of all, we thank the Creator for wrath and the joy that He brings us. All the interruptions, all the problems, in the group in the 10, overcome, when we have the greatness of the Creator, exalting the Creator. By that we overcome the disruptions. So, how can we magnify the importance of the Creator more in the whole group, in the whole world, covering everything with love? This is possible only if you're among such people that this is important for them, and then together you elevate His greatness. You raise His greatness in the conversations between you, in the meals that you prepare, in the discussions between you, and so forth. This is how His greatness is raised. The more you elevate between you the greatness of the Creator, so you will also elevate yourselves. By elevating the greatness of the Creator, we also delight Him. Of course, I wanted to ask about coming closer to the friends. What does it mean? What is that action of coming closer, nearing to the friends? It's an act by where they feel within their heart that they are together with the other friends in the 10, and that they're thinking about the same action together. So to bestow to the friends, you have to first come closer to them. What does it mean? Yes, to get close means to equalize the form in our intentions. In the intention, yes, thank you. Can I also ask, yes, what does it mean to open the friends' will to receive? Do I need to listen to their corporeal and spiritual desires, and from that to understand what to ask for? What does it mean to open? To open that I show them how much I'm willing to be together with them. How to ensure that when I bestow upon the friends the pleasure I receive from that doesn't enter my ego, my pride. I'm not sure how to answer that. But if you'll start performing actions in order to bestow to the Creator, then you will also begin to feel what you are doing in the direction of bestowing to the Creator, or in the direction of receiving to the Creator. And then you will not have a question. Well, last one. Is there a way to connect without loving? Our love is a different kind of love. Love that comes from the giver to the receiver. Meaning if each one in the 10 wants to bestow to the others, then it is considered that he loves them. And this is called spiritual. That too. Tar 29. Thank you very much. It says here that a person should believe that if the will to receive obstructs him from working, that comes from above obstructs him in the work. Why should he believe that it comes from above? Because he can't feel that. He only has the possibility to believe. To believe means to accept what his teacher says about it. The friends in the group, and he accepts it even though he can't measure it or check it. If a person just thinks that it's the will to receive growing, just because it's the nature of the will to receive, what should he do then? You can give such questions as much as you want. I'm telling you how it is. Okay, by that, we finish our lesson for today. And I hope that you will check our materials. And tomorrow you'll be ready for a more significant ascent. Okay. So, thank you. Love, and we'll continue to the summary of the lesson in the tense. All the best. First of all, I end the lesson with gratitude. I took from it that you can always ask the Creator for the har, to change the intention and to add more, to bestow. And also I heard about how you need to feel that we're connecting into one heart, and from that to elevate a lack to pay a lack. The more we exert in the connection between us and elevating the greatness of the Creator, so the Creator becomes more important for us. So we need to run away from our nature of receiving and try to be similar to Him. So first of all, we need to give thanks for a lesson full of abundance, and we need to again wash ourselves in the great light that have brought us in this lesson. If I take one thing, it's the little victories, another connection, another overcoming this or the state together, and advancing towards the Creator through these small actions. That's how you build up a victory. Yes, in addition to the connection, there was the matter of nearing. He used that to get closer, from there to connect, and from there to raise a common prayer, in order to acquire the intention to bestow to the Creator. In the recorded part of the lesson, he talked about the connection of opposites, and how we need to be independent. Those who combine all these contrasting things, and we need to ascribe more importance to the quality of bestow and the Creator. But we need to always examine how we relate to whatever is sent to us, what the Creator sends us, because that is the only thing that we can truly access. Everything else is outside our reach. We don't control, we don't govern our thoughts or things that happen around us, or the lack of the friend, etc., but only in how we relate to those things that are revealed. And we need to connect. We need to come closer to the friends, to their will, to their desires to love them. And that is a source of pleasure. Becoming like the Creator and trying to love the friends as He loves us, and really come closer to each other. Make an effort to do that and to elevate a collective lack, common lack. Yes, there's a lot of gratitude for a lesson, for another lesson that was so rich, so thick, like some sort of a soup or meat, stew full of flavours. I heard in the beginning there was about the inverse relation between lights and vessels in the preface. So many things that you feel, that you hear them seemingly for the first time, was very special. And also all the part with Ore was all wrapped with this simple love of friends, calling us to go to do that, to go and feel the deficiencies of the friends, help the friends, and to be together with them, embrace them, warm them up. Want to bestow to them. You start to feel them, and you feel a feeling in that is small thing. And also the practice during the day, truly guidelines. And what we have to go and do during the day is to connect between us, discover to what extent we can do it. Each one shall help his friend try to do that, and then check ourselves to what kind of bestow to the Creator we've reached. We have all the work here inside this whole thing. There are also the little victories that He gave us as a way to measure. So we have a special day of work ahead of us. Yes, and mainly we should realize all these things and be in prayer all the time. Yes, I don't have much to add to what you said, that we have to invest in trying to get closer to each other, bestowing to each other, bestowing to the friends, loving the friends, and by we need to scrutinize what are the deficiencies of the friends and help the friends them. Again, I want to remind about those small victories during the day. It was a strong thing. Check in the morning what we did at noon. Check what we did with that. This, through such checks we can see if we are indeed getting closer or moving away. Right. The light builds the system of reception, the system of bestow, and the intention, how we use the will to receive for ourselves or benefit others. The key here is that the whole of humanity has to reach bestow. So throughout the day we have to create a connection between us, and to help each other. Then, check and see what kind of bestow we bestow upon the Creator, and in terms of the brain we have the mind. We have to prepare our thoughts and desires, but our work is in the heart, in our feelings and emotions. We have to get closer to each other, and to come closer be equalizing our intentions, to elevate the spirit of the Creator between us and His greatness as much as we can make Him greater. We will build His greatness between us, and by that we will be able to rise higher. Also Rob said that if we turn to the Creator, and the Creator would not be able to turn us down, so work as much as possible on the demand that He will connect between us to a state where He can turn us down. So, focus on the prayer of the heart. And now we will read from the book of Zoho. We're reading from the book of Sar for all. In Hebrew it's page 212 in the first volume, the article Introduction to of the book of Zohar, the letters of Rab, Himnoner Sabar, item 22, the letters of Arbona, Sabar 22, in the beginning. Said, we have found in the words, in the beginning, God created the an. Inverse order of letters. First it writes Bet, and then it writes Alif and then Aleph. When the Creator wished to make the world, all the letters were still hidden, and 2,000 years prior to the creation of the world, the Creator was observing and playing with the letters. Explanation. He asks two questions. 1. Why did the letters all come in an inverse order in the beginning of the Torah? First Bet and then Aleph. Why were these letters doubled? First, the two letters Bet of the two words, and then the two letters Aleph of the two words. He answers, when the Creator Bener wished to make the world to elicit Son the world, the letters the vessels of Son were still hidden included in the enema, and were not known, also called 2,000 years before the world was created, the letters of Son were included in. This is why the incorporation of Son in is referred to as 2,000 years prior to the creation of the world. The Creator was observing and playing with the letters since then's on we regarded as man in 2,000 years which are, and the man always caused delight in the upper one. Therefore at that time, when they became man in, the Creator was observing and playing with the letters. 23. When He wished to create the world, all the letters came before Him from last to first. The letter Tav went in first and said, O Lord of the world, it is good for you to create the world with me, for I am the seal on your ring which is Truth, meaning the last letter in the word Emet. You are called by the word by the name Truth. It is becoming of a king to begin with the letter Emet and create the world with me. The Creator replied to her, you are commonly and upright, or honest, but you are unfit to create the world with you, since you are to be inscribed in the forehead of men of faith, who will keep the Torah from Alf to Tav, or from A to Z, and in writing ye, they will die. Moreover, you are the seal of death, since Tav is also the last letter in the word Met, death, and because you are so, you are unfit for the world to be created with you. She promptly departed. Explanation. When He began to sort out the zone which is called the world in order to create them, all the letters of Zon came before the Creator, starting with the last of all the letters, and ending with Aleph, the first of all the letters. They came from last to first, and not in their usual order in the alphabet, because they came by the order of man in, which they arranged in the order of inverse of the order of the letters, and in the order of mud from above to below, but the order of the man is always the opposite to the order of the mud as it is from below upward. This commentary on the letters is profound indeed. To somewhat clarify it, I will give you a short introduction into the vastness of this commentary. The creation of the world means the perfection and existence in a way that the world can exist and complete the aim for which it was created. It is known that God has made them one opposite the other, Did each force in Kadashar holiness the Creator made an equal force? In the SRA the other side the opposite of the Kadashar. As there are 4 worlds Abadashar, so there are 4 words worlds of tumor impurity opposite them. We will move on to a clip by to remember our intention. Preparation for the study of Surah is to be in connection, because only when inclined towards connection can we draw the reforming light. And of course we have disruptions which are very directly sent to us from the upper system, and the more we try to connect above those disruptions to connect together, and we find that we can't. So then after efforts, and specifically after efforts, we address the Creator and we ask for correction. Then according to our request for the correction meaning connection, so as to bestow upon the Creator through our connection, to bestow goodness and contentment upon Him just as He wants to bestow upon us, meaning to reach equivalence of form with Him. To that extent we will receive assistance, and that is called the reforming light. Our Torah as it is written, I've created the evil inclination, I've created the Torah as the spice for the light in it, reforms him, and then those intentions which are for ourselves, which not by our choosing are in us to begin with. We will then feel how those intentions transform through the reforming glides, gradually more and more, until we reach a transformation where instead of thinking about ourselves, our own selfish benefits and gains, we will begin to think about how to do good to each other, each one to his friend, and all of us together to the greed. And that will be called the crossing of the barrier. And from then on we will begin climbing the degrees of the spiritual ladder until the full correction of the soul. We're continuing with you hence. Hence in the world of there is no distinction between one who serves God and one who does not serve Him, as there is no distinction whatsoever between Kadashar and impurity. Accordingly, how can the world exist? How can we tell good from evil, from impurity? However, there is one very important scrutiny, which is to know that another God is barren or sterile, and does not bear fruit. Hence, those who fail in the scrutiny and walk by the path of abiyar of impurity, their source dries out, and they have no blessing of spiritual fruits. Thus they wither away until they shut completely. The opposite is those who adhere to Kadashar. Their works are blessed, as it is written, as a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither, and in whatever he does he prospers. This is the only scrutiny in the world of a CR, to know if he's in Kadashar or to the contrary. As it is written, and test me now in this, says the Lord of hosts, if I do not open for you the windows of heavens, and pour out for you a blessing until it overflows. Afterwards, it is written, so you will again distinguish between the righteous and the wicked, between one who serves God and one who does not serve him. Thus, it explains that it is impossible to tell one who serves the Creator from one who does not serve him, but only in the blessing. This is the heart of this entire commentary of the letters. Since all the letters came to create the world, according to the instruction of the degree in Kadashar that is unique to that letter. For the 22 letters are the elements of all the heads of the degrees in the 4 worlds. Each of them appreciated its own merit, indicating that by obtaining her degree, the people of the world would be able to make the Kadashar prevail over the shells, in order to reach the desired end of correction. But the Creator replied to each of them that opposite. Here is that same force in the shells as well. Hence people will not obtain any scrutinies through her. Then came the Bet, whose instruction in her degree is blessing, opposite which there are no shells whatsoever, since another God is barren and does not bear fruit. Then the Creator told her, indeed I will create the world with you, since only in her was there scrutiny and distinction, telling between one who serves the Creator and one who does not serve him, since she did not have an opposite in the SRA. Hence the world will certainly exist in her to scrutinize, and hence the Kadeshir over the Mivot, the structures of impurity until death is swallowed up forever, and they arrive at the end of correction. We should also know the division of the 22 letters into 3 degrees, and this is so because above Bina there are no vessels which are the letters. Also the 22 letters in Bina are called the big letters. The 22 letters in Zerin are simply called letters, and the 22 letters in are the small letters. Similarly, they each divide into 3 degrees, in and towards the end.